Hey guys, this is Musings with Mavry. I'm Mavry, and now we're going to be watching Goblin Slayer episode 4. So I just watched episode 3, and it ended on sort of like a cliffhanger where all the heroes were rushing in into this Goblin lair, ready to kick some ass, and we get the end of the episode. So I want to see what happens next. I didn't. This is a continuous viewing, so I didn't do any particular research in between. So anyways, let's just get right into it, and my thoughts and review will be at the end of this episode. So, let's go. Alrighty then, let's get started in 3, 2, 1, play. So again with the dice. Hmm. So there's only 4 main races? Oh, and here's the OP. So, I'll see you guys in just a sec. And we're back. I'm really curious. I don't exactly like the English in the opening, but I'm not sure if it's Italian or Latin. I'll need to look that up. The plot thickens. It'll be too late? For what? Are these elves? Are they dead? No. Okay, I see her ear. It's an elf. No, so this guy is a mage. A summoner. Yeah. Yeah, so he is a spellcaster. He's also a spellcaster? Still, it's true, though. I mean, come on. Hopefully you guys would know how much of a nuisance these goblins are and take them more seriously. So, alcohol plus fire? What? Yeah, so, okay. So they're half. I still don't quite get what the lizard guy and the dwarf's occupations are. You can be a little bit more efficient, you know. Hobgoblin? Or even bigger. So goblins can, and ogres can work together? So yeah, I guess, like I said last episode, probably this is going to be the reason why he eventually helps the other three adventurers and fight the demon lord's army. Demon King's army. Okay, I never remember if it's Demon Lord or Demon King. Oh, this protection is a pretty strong spell. So recast? That doesn't. Still, she's a porcelain ranked adventurer, though. Is she able? Is she supposed to be able to do that? Velociraptor? What? No? Golems? Oh, these are some very unique methods of fighting. Regeneration. These females? There's only one. Hurry up, use heal, you do. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Oh. You wanna use heal or something? Okay, he's probably going to be using the scroll. He's probably going to be using the scroll. So a lot of the fighters here use both magic and melee at the same and martial arts at the same time. What is that spell though? Reflect? No, wow, what the hell? What? What kind of spell was that? What? No, this is not an adventure. This is a job. That was it. Okay, I'll see you guys after the ending. Okay, guys, so that was episode 4 of Goblin Slayer. We have a lot to talk about this episode. So, first things first. In the intro, we again get the narration voice talking about, how the gods create this world, sick of playing dice, so they decided to create worlds and maybe even different species. So again, I'm wondering how this exactly ties into this current story. Like, is it going to be a big plot reveal later where, we're all just playing, we're mere playthings within all these deities. Uh, well, basically, they're bored, so they're using us as playthings, and, goblins might be spawned by the deities to serve as a challenge because in the end they said all these kinds of different races, there's lots of adventures, and sometimes they get the exhilaration of a success, and other times they fail and die. So, is this just pure fluff, or is this going to be tied into the story somehow? We'll have to see how it goes. But right now, it's pretty consistently been sort of like an introductory to the episode. So, if it continues on, I'm assuming that it's going to build up to someplace. Otherwise, it's just going to be a lot of pointless hype. So here's hoping to it actually meaning something in the future. And in this episode, we finally get to see, what the other two, both the dwarf and the lizard man, what kind of abilities or what kind of fighters they are. So the lizard man is, well, actually, let's go with the dwarf first. The dwarf is a little bit more straightforward. So he was actually a mage. Well, what can I say? I'm not sure whether in Dungeons and Dragons, dwarf class mages are a thing, because obviously, typically from fantasy, dwarves don't really get bonuses to mage classes. A lot of times they just simply don't like it. Like if we go back to Tolkien's works from Lord of the Rings and all that, dwarves they don't trust magic, basically. But here we can see that he's clearly a mage, and probably even specializing in stone magic. We only see him do one spell, so it's hard to say. But, well, actually, sorry, two spells. One was the stone magic, and the other was stupor, I think. Basically, the one where where both him and the priestess combined their spells to make all the goblins fall asleep. So we only saw him do two spells, so that was kind of a bummer. As a mage, you probably need a little bit more than that. And then, so that was the dwarf, and the other one, more interestingly, for me anyways, is the lizard man. So he seems to be a conjurer slash summoner, right? So at first I thought he was maybe going to be a necromancer type of character. Well, actually, let me rephrase that. He could possibly still be a necromancer class, right? Because when he summoned his, I already forgot what kind of warrior that was, but it was made out of bones, right? So, and dinosaur bones. I think he mentioned Velociraptor or something. But anyways, you know, probably they have something. If you think about it, he's a lizard man, right? So yeah, they might have something to do with dinosaurs. Besides dragons, also dinosaurs. That's a thing. And he could still possibly a necromancer because even his weapon, he summoned out of bone, right? So if we look at more classic examples of that, well, I say classic, but you know, at least for me, the thing or the person, the class or game that I instantly think of is the necromancer in Diablo 2, right? So he has a summon weapon as well, and well, I think what's it called? Bone dagger? Yeah, not exactly summon weapon. That's for the wizard class, but he can enchant his weapons. So and then seeing it being made out of bone, yeah. I think right now I'm inclined to call him a necromancer. We know he's for sure a conjurer slash summoner, but I'm going to go a bit further and say that he's a necromancer. Right. So, anyways, we saw how the classes or abilities of those two, and I'm actually really curious on how experienced they actually are. So we know that the Goblin Slayer is a silver class. What about those other three? Do they have classes at all? Because the elf girl, even though she's 2,000 years old, she only recently left her home to go on adventures. So she's probably, in many ways, a newbie. The dwarf seems to be, and the lizard man seems to be a little bit more experienced, but then again, they seem to have a lot of problem fighting this ogre. But to be fair, we also don't have any reference on how big of a deal this ogre is. Like, he mentioned that his army was granted to him by one, I forgot, I didn't quite catch that. Like, is he a general, or is he one of the subordinates of one of the generals of the Demon King's army? So, either way, at least he views himself as a hotshot. Is he? We don't know, right? Uh, but in any case, he seemed to be giving the others quite a lot of trouble, right? If the Goblin Slayer didn't have that final ace up the sleeve, I think they would be wiped out, honestly, right? Even just the fireball itself. And speaking of which, the fireball that the ogre conjured was blocked by 2 protection spells from the priestess. So how does that work? Because as far as I know, the priestess is still a porcelain ranked adventurer, right? I mean, she doesn't. We can assume that from the first episode to now, it probably hasn't been half a year. I know in the within the second episode, 1 month had passed, but how long has it passed since then to right now? It can't be that long, right? So, I would guess then the ogre is not that high ranked, unless protection is just a really OP spell, and doesn't really care what level you are, or if there's even levels at all in this world setting, right? Because it could be levelless, and you simply gain more experience, uh, more experience, more technique, and learn more basically. So it doesn't really have a level 50 versus level 10 system where the level 50 is going to beat the level 10 anytime. It might not work that way. But yeah, I thought that the gate. What did I think of the gate? It was quite ingenious, all things considered, right? So, putting a gate at the bottom of the ocean, so all the water pressure forces the water out as sort of like, water is basically blades at that point. There's a reason why we have something called, is it water blades or water cutting? And basically using water as a sort of like a saw to saw things. And that is based on water pressure. So if it's at the bottom of the ocean, what I can't even remember what the pressure should be here on Earth. I think something like 100,000 psi, something like that. I mean, you guys can just go look it up, but it's something ridiculous like that. So he was using basically 100,000 psi water jet to slice through the ogre. So again, I think that this ties back into what I mentioned in episode 2 or episode 1, where I feel like the Goblin Slayer doesn't necessarily have the best fighting skills or technique, right? I mean, we saw here that he didn't really show off anything. Yeah, he got some stealth kills and whatnot, but it doesn't seem like he's exactly that high of a level fighter, especially when you consider his silver rank. So probably he uses his head a lot more than he uses actual fighting technique. And using the scroll in this case would prove that point. So probably his biggest weapon is his intelligence, actually, even though he's not a wizard, not a mage, or whatnot, but he knows how to use different kinds of methods to accomplish his goals. But by the way, I feel like that's kind of a bug, because as far as I know, in most settings, using gate magic means that you would need to have gone to that place at least once before. At least that's how it normally works in a lot of fantasy settings. But that wizard, theoretically, she shouldn't have been able to go to, like, the bottom of the ocean, right? Unless she did, and that's why she said that, that was a very troublesome request. I don't know, but it would seem a little bit OP, right? If you didn't need to go, at least go to that place once before, and then you can just simply open a gate there. Yeah, that seems a little too powerful. You could basically go anywhere you want with that. You can even go to the moon, right? So, what's up with that? But in any case, they finish this quest. It'll be interesting to see in the next episode whether, because theoretically the other three companions, the elf, the dwarf, and the lizard man, they've completed their mission. They've finished this goblin lair, so they should be going back to their respective armies to fight the demon king now. But I don't think this is a one-off, so we'll see whether or not they continue the story in the next episode. And yeah, I think that covers it. So, as always, I hope you enjoyed this reaction as well as my thoughts. Let me know if you have your own theories or you would like to point out inaccuracies in mine. And I hope that I can. Well, actually, I think Goblin Slayer is coming out tomorrow, so I don't think I'll be able to catch up in time for the latest episode, but at least I hope that I'll be up to date in the next week's episode, right? So, in the meantime, stay tuned, and I'll see you guys next time.